Hello, everybody. Are you working hard? I'm hardly working, and today we're going to talk about Iron Man. That's right, we're finally going to start off the Marvel Cinematic Universe conversation. So, where to begin, I guess, is 10 years ago, more than that. How did I even come to discover Iron Man, right? Like, this is a movie that I've seen several times, and as I've stated before, it rightfully claims the number one spot in my Marvel Cinematic Universe lineup. I think a lot of people look past it because it's been so long since it came out and they're more focused on the, improved technologies and everything. But honestly, rewatching it, I'm watching it on a DVD. Like, I'm not watching a Blu ray or anything. I'm looking at it the way that we bought it when we got it, and it looks great. It really does. I don't watch it and get taken out like, oh, that's t-. No, it looks, these guys were just starting something that turned into something amazing, and it still started really well. But how I came to discover this movie was actually, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but at the very end of the first Transformers film that Michael Bay put out there was a trailer for Iron Man. It was like the first Marvel post-credit scene wasn't even a Marvel movie. I don't know if it happened in theaters or not, but it definitely was on our DVD. And I thought that was just the coolest and weirdest thing. Because I was like, what's going on? Why is this a thing? And I was actually really excited because right around that time, I think it was Cartoon Network put out an animated Origins of Iron Man film that my sister and I watched. And that taught me everything I needed to know about the cave and the suits. And there were some differences. In the animated version, Tony had already been working on all of his suits. And like he had a bunch of finished models. Obviously, that's not the case in the film, but the other difference is that the overarching villain in the animated film was the same people who kidnapped him. He just went back and finished getting revenge for being kidnapped. But it was cool, you know? And so I went into this movie 10 years ago, and I was really excited, and I got to see things that I understood, which, I guess I kind of had that with Spider-Man a little bit because I knew about how Peter got his powers before the Sam Raimi Spider-Man started up, but I didn't know anything about the intricacies of the Goblin or the relationship they had and the whole glider incident being a thing in the comics. Like that was all new to me. Iron Man, I had stuff that I knew and I had stuff I was surprised by. And even to this day, I'm still learning things because I'm not as avid a comic book reader as I'd like to be. And that's mostly a money situation where, like, if I could afford to buy more comics to read into them, I absolutely would. I have friends who recommend me looking them up online, but it's like I feel guilty as an attempting artist, like not giving back to other artists. It just feels wrong a little bit, a lot of it. So I don't really try to look them up. I'll go onto wikis and read about characters and stuff to learn things, which is how I found out that Obadiah in the comics is Ironmonger, and I never noticed until this watching that I just put through that they called the terrorists the Ten Rings, and those guys show up throughout all the Iron Man movies, which is kind of cool. And it was like the biggest nod, wink, and also upsetance about the Mandarin for people. It was building up to it, and then we'll get to that when we talk about Iron Man 3. The chessboard is apparently an allusion to the Chessmen, which is, I guess, an organization Obadiah uses or something. I don't know much about them, to be totally honest. But it's I also really like that the jets are Whiplash 1 and Whiplash 2, which is just setting you up for Iron Man 2's villain. It's just kind of neat that, like, there's a lot of things that they put in that movie that I couldn't appreciate when I first saw this a decade ago, but now it's like, oh man, that's a really cool detail that they included. So yeah, everything about the foundation of this film is really good. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is amazing as Tony Stark. I've heard no complaints from anybody about his performance, and in fact I've heard that some of the comics have actually been modeled around his image because he fits the character so well or something like that, and it's like, I believe it. And what I really love about this movie is how it blends comedy with action, which I know isn't saying a lot because that's the whole cinematic universe, and that's why I love the MCU is because it's such a great blend of comedy and action, which I think is exactly what makes I think that's exactly what makes comic books so enjoyable, right? Is you get the sense of adventure, but there's also humor to it. You know, there's clever writing included with the actiony pictures, and I think that that's something more people should appreciate if they don't. I think one of the moments that I never really, again, things I love noticing things that I never noticed before. I noticed Tony pulling out another burger when he gets back and he's having the press conference. I didn't notice before Obadiah asking him, "Hey, did you get me one of those?" And he says, "Oh no, this is the last one." And he goes inside and he pulls out another one. He lied. He absolutely lied. And then he didn't even finish that burger. I mean, what a jerk. What an absolute monster. And actually, the last time I watched this, which was like a month or so ago, so I could have done it then, but I wasn't. I watched this, I guess, 2 months ago maybe. It was long enough ago that I hadn't started doing the discussions, and I wanted to rewatch it to make sure that I had an honest opinion coming into this discussion. But when I watched it with my dad, and we had a talk about how impossible it is to imagine pizza from New York getting to Malibu. That doesn't sound like a thing that could happen, and it's definitely not going to be good pizza, right? I mean, just the flight from New York to Malibu. I don't know how long that flight is. I don't fly a lot. I imagine it's at least a couple of hours because it's end to end, you know? But there's also the fact that he's got to get from the pizza place to the jet, and then the jet's got to go through takeoff procedures, and then the jet's got to fly, and then it's got to land, and then he's got to go through landing procedures. And I understand, even if it's a personal jet, that like maybe things go faster, but I'm pretty sure that there's still safety regulations and stuff that you got to go through. So it's hours put into waiting for this pizza to just get there. It's not going to be a hot and ready pizza, right? It's going to be cold. And I've never had New York style pizza, so I don't know how it is cold. I'm okay with cold pizza, but like, if that's your apology pizza, I feel like, you know, there's got to be something better than cold pizza. I don't know. I could be wrong, you know. It was just a weird moment, something fun to talk about. Something I want to bring up, because a lot of people make the comparison that Iron Man is just Marvel's Batman. I see their point in that they both have money, but there are some distinct differences. One obviously being combat training, where Batman trained for years to learn every weapon, and Iron Man kind of relies mostly on targeting equipment, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's technically cheating in a gamer sense where he has an aimbot, but you know, if you can build it, why not use it? The other main difference, though, is Batman doesn't kill. And throughout this whole movie, Iron Man's constantly killing people. He has no issues with killing. And I get why. You know, he was a weapons merchant. He was used to the idea of people dying. But I think that there's a difference between making a weapon with the intent of knowing that, well, not the intent, but knowing that it would kill somebody at some point, and making your own weapon to go out and kill people. And for good reasons. I understand where he's coming from, why he's killing these people, because he believes there's no other way to stop them, and it's his mess, and he's got to clean it. I understand his point. I just think that it's interesting that he doesn't have any moral quandaries about it, you know? To him, it's just doing what's right. And I don't know. I guess for me, the idea of taking a life should have more of an impact on a person. And we know that he's not perfect. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but you know that later in the film series, he starts to have some issues, but it's about a completely different thing. And again, we'll talk about it when we get there. But I just think that it's an interesting difference and that people should really consider that. And I don't know if that's true in the comics or not, but again, we're not really talking about comics. We're just talking about the way that the film universes are set up, you know, which are different, inspired by, but separate. It's kind of like how there's an Ultimate Universe and several hundred other universes, you know? The comics recognize that different universes exist because they need to tell different stories, and if they put them all in one universe, then it wouldn't blend well, you know? certain directions they might want to take with one character, they might want to take different directions with the same character. You gotta have different universes. And that's why, as hard as it is to say, oh, this is different from the source material, comic book movies get a pass because, well, because they're allowed. You know, their source material establishes that there's different universes. The only thing that I think is fair to say along with that is that if you don't like the film as much as the source material, or if you like it more, say something. You know, I absolutely think that it's fair to say that, oh, if they'd stuck to this, it would have been better. Or, oh my god, I can't believe they skipped that. It's so much better now that they didn't include it. I don't know a lot of people who are happier that things didn't get included from comics, but I'm positive there are people out there, and, you know, there you go. I've mostly been talking around the movie and not about it, now that I think about it. I'm not trying to avoid talking about it. It was a really good movie. It's just, I guess the idea around the movie is something that I'd rather talk about because it's like really good. And what else do you say? Probably the best moment in the movie is him, Iron Man, learning how to fly, and he just smacks himself into the wall. That is still easily the funniest part of that whole film. I love it. I love it so much. It's so good. And, you know, I rewatched the Iron Man movie, and I'm going to rewatch the other ones. And honestly, those plus watching Infinity War a few weeks ago is just... I want more Iron Man, you know? He's so good. I love his stories and his movies, and they always make me, like, really excited because he's human. But he's better than human, you know? I like that. I like that he doesn't have superpowers, but he's really smart, and he uses that along with his arrogance to solve problems. There's just something about that kind of crime fighting that I really enjoy. And it's unfortunate that you don't really get that with the other characters. I mean, Doctor Strange kind of, but because he uses magic instead of technology, it's a separate form of intellect and arrogance. Like, it's still good. I'm not upset about Doctor Strange at all. Can't wait for several weeks to go. I mean, every week's going to be fun. But, you know, talking about him is going to be good. All of them are going to be good. I think I've kind of exhausted my points on this discussion. I'm really excited for next week. Well, sort of. I was just thinking next week I'm going to do Iron Man 2, but realistically I think I need to do the Hulk next, is the next one out, and I'm not unexcited. It's just the fact that it kind of seems like they brushed this one under the rug, you know? Like it's the Hulk got introduced, but none of the characters are going to be mentioned really after this. Is a little disappointing. I'm still excited to watch it again because I've only seen that one once, and I think Hulk, I don't remember if this one's Hulk or the Incredible Hulk, because I don't remember which one's the really bad one from like 2004. But this one I'm going to be watching, it's got an actor that I really like in it. It's got a couple of actors I really like in it, let's be real. And it's got some moments that were really fun. So yeah, I am excited. Okay, yeah. I'll see you guys later this week, actually. I've got another super person film coming up to discuss. That's all the tease you're going to get out of me. But I'm excited to watch it and talk to you about it. So I will see you all then. Take care, everybody.